Welcome back. I am so excited about our next guest. It's Jill Lambert, writer and author of A Good Catch. Now, one of the reasons, good morning, Jill.
Good morning.
I'm going already. Why I'm so excited is last week we had somebody in with recipes strictly on catfish, and they were the farm-raised catfish. And by the time they left our studio and were heading back to their offices, they received an email saying they were inundated with requests from our viewers. We're talking by the hundreds to get a copy of this book. So people are definitely interested in buying fish and buying fish that makes sense to the world, for our bodies, and that's what you've done with this book called A Good Catch. It's sustainable seafood recipes from Canada's top chefs, and you've worked with David Suzuki. Tell us how it all got started. You said you were inspired from your homeland in Vancouver.
Well, I was actually just looking at a Sea Choice card. Sea Choice produces a little wallet card with information about what are good choices and what are fish to avoid. And I realized I was making some bad choices. And at that moment, I thought, oh, well, if I'm in this place, other people must also be in the same spot, eating, fish that's not a good choice from an environmental point of view without really realizing it. And so I approached the Suzuki Foundation to see if they would partner with me on the book, and they agreed.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah,
so this was with their marine biology unit. So what types
Yes.
of research was involved in gathering the information to decipher the good from the bad?
Well, the Suzuki Foundation does assessments that are very detailed. They're scientific assessments of different kinds of fish and the ways that they are harvested all across Canada. And the assessments are done by a marine biologist, so it's actually a scientific assessment, not just opinion.
Okay.
And they provide those to Sea Choice, which is an organization that exists to help people make better
As a guide.
fish choices.
As your book did. So let's take a look at some examples on the table. We begin by comparing types, first of all, of shrimp. This one we've seen, I'm sure all of us have seen served at parties, and we've eaten through many, many, many hundreds of them. Tell us, you say there is a problem in cultivating the round tray of shrimp, which you see right here.
Those are tropical prawns. A good portion of tropical prawns that are sold in this country are farmed, and the process in which they're farmed is very detrimental to the environment. They're farmed in ponds, and the ponds fill up with effluent. The shrimp are treated with antibiotics to keep them alive. And then once they're harvested, they have to be processed in order to be edible because they have a lot of
chemicals.
Yes, well, and they're processed with more chemicals. They're actually bleached. So by the time they arrive in this perfect little ring that you see here, they've had antibiotics, and they've also had bleach to make them safe to eat. And that is a process that's not always 100% successful. So sometimes the tropical farm shrimp that you're getting actually have negative health benefits. You could be absorbing a fair amount of antibiotics by eating those, and other
so those are on your ban list. Instead, is this the healthy option, and why?
Yeah, those are cold water shrimp. They're from the Atlantic, and they're harvested by a midwater trawl, which doesn't create a lot of environmental problems.
So you're looking for cold water shrimp.
Yeah, much better choice.
And what do you have off to the side on that similar tray there?
That's tilapia, another good choice. Tilapia is a farmed fish. It's farmed all over the world, and it's an omnivore, so tilapia will eat anything. Okay. But the end result, if it's a North American farmed tilapia, is a very good choice. Yes, it's very environmentally friendly and a very practical choice. It's very reasonably priced.
Salmon. Take us through the difference between these two here.
Salmon is tricky. We see a lot of Atlantic salmon. This is Atlantic salmon. You'd never know just from looking at a piece of salmon.
So this piece is Atlantic salmon.
You wouldn't know necessarily that it was Atlantic. You'd have to look at the packaging, and you'd have to be able to decipher the marketing to ensure that what you're getting is a good product. Atlantic salmon is often marketed as fresh, and that creates confusion for people because they think that in a way means wild. But Atlantic salmon sold in Canada is never wild. It's always farmed.
So what are we looking for?
You're looking for a good choice would be something that is clearly marked as wild.
Wild?
Wild Pacific salmon, in this case sockeye. It's great that they've identified the actual kind of salmon. It just helps the consumer make better choices and know a little bit more about the fish that they're eating.
Less aluminum, mercury. We keep hearing about mercury levels.
Yeah.
Now let's go through this. I know many of us are guilty of dining on these. They're fast and they're convenient. You say this is on the no-no list, both of them, the frozen sticks as well as here. How come?
Well, not necessarily all of the frozen sticks, but you need to look at the packaging closely. When you look at the ingredient list on the box, it might say something like may contain pollock or whiting or cod. It might list a couple of different species that are ground up together to make these fish sticks.
Okay.
And you have no way of knowing where those fish come from. You don't even really know what you're consuming when you're eating a product like that.
So what are you looking for when buying the convenient frozen stuff?
Well, I would start by looking for something that is clearly identified as being a single kind of fish. For example, pollock fillets.
Pure.
Yes, would be a much better choice from an environmental point of view as well as from a health point of view.
Okay.
And then the cod, the salted cod that is also over there. I thought it was interesting because it's sold as a product of Canada, and yet I'm not really sure that that cod is from Canada. It's very hard to tell as a consumer where the fish actually comes from. If it's processed in Canada, it can be marked as a product of Canada, but that cod could come from anywhere.
So if you're at the local markets, make sure you ask a lot of questions, guys. Make smart choices. For more information on the book, agoodcatch.org. Thank you so much. Wonderful stuff. Over to Kevin in the newsroom now.